All right, what's up, everybody? It's 11 o'clock. You guilted me into it. Cutting into my Jack and Coke. But Pelican, what do you mean? It's an inside joke. Pelican was last night. So we did a big live tonight, and Shelly rallied everybody to guilt me into going live at 11. I wanted to go to bed early, but oh well. So we're going to wait on the 11 o'clock here. It's just coming in. It's going to take a few minutes for all the graphics to get updated. I did see that it's still going to be a 3. This is current convection. We're looking at it live. I got some thoughts on it. So we're going to take a look at it. Had a great live at 7 o'clock. Man, if you missed it, please go back and check it out. We had about 20 minutes with Mr. Kevin Guthrie of the Florida Division of Emergency Management. Came on our little daily brew, and believe it or not, he watches us too. And he's a great guy, great family. Met his wife, and all his staff are great. So I was really very, very humbled, to say the least, to have the state of Florida sharing information on the storm on our platforms. So that was really cool. I'm going to have to do an update when I type. Timeline. This thing's going to start bringing in some pretty nasty weather tomorrow. I already saw a feeder band getting close to Key West tonight. There's already a warning up for Key West, the Keys. We're going to see feeder bands all day tomorrow. There'll probably be a tornado watch for a big part of the Florida Peninsula tomorrow. Our system's going to be intensifying, and it's going to be bringing feeder bands towards the state throughout the day. So I know that they just updated the discussion. So what they normally do is do the public advisory first. So 11 o'clock, we get a brand new track. We get a brand new intensity forecast, anything. New warnings, new watches. They did add a tropical storm warning on the Florida East Coast and the Southeast Georgia coast. From Sebastian Inlet to Altamaha Sound. So those new. That's the only changes. We have tropical storm warnings now on the Florida East Coast and in Georgia. Still not a hurricane. The hurricane hunters are out there right now. They might have found a little bit lower pressure, but they're not ready yet to say it's a hurricane. Forecast advisory discussion just came out, and now they're expecting 120 miles an hour. So here's the changes. All right, let's talk about it. Idalia's producing intense bursts of convection. Yeah, that's what I just posted. What I posted, it's putting on a show. Didn't mean nothing other than the satellite's putting on a show. It's moving slower. That's pretty obvious with the buzz that I've been getting with everybody. Things have been a little bit slower. Doesn't even look like it's moving. Track's the same. There you go. The official track, essentially the same. So if you're looking for a shift west, shift east, essentially the same. Some shear. Becoming a major hurricane before landfall. So they have not reduced anything. So basically everything's the same. Idalia is expected to move into an area of highly susceptible storm surge. We know that, and there you go. So there, 120 mile an hour. It's gonna rapidly intensify tomorrow. I'm gonna go into some thoughts here in a second. What's going on with the system now? Let me do a quick update if it's available. Shelly, you talk to everybody, because if I have to type, I'm gonna go. Oh, it just came out. All right, let me save this real quick. So the M is actually a little bit closer to coast. They might have actually, in a sense, reduced it a little bit. Here's the latest cone. I'll just leave this up here. Let me type it real quick. So let me save this. Basically, I think I'd do good with just saying very little change. 11 p.m. NHC track update. Very little changing. Very little change. Very little change in thinking. How about that? That's it. Very little change. Tropical storm warnings now. Hey, Shelly, you're in a tropical storm warning now. Look at that. The East Coast has really got a lot. It made it sound like it was going to be North Florida, but no, we got a lot of the Florida East Coast. That's kind of new. So tropical storm warnings for a big chunk, I like that word, chunk, of the Florida East Coast and lower Georgia. So there's your changes, looking at them. 11 p.m. track update, very little change in thinking. Track intensity almost the same. That's what I'll put. Track. This is what I do when I'm typing. I have to think about this, and then I look at it, and I look at unchanged. Almost unchanged. So there you go. 11 p.m. track update. 11 p.m. But I got to put on there Monday because somebody might think it's not today. So 11 p.m. Monday track update. Very little change in thinking. Track and intensity almost unchanged. Tropical storm warnings for a big chunk of the Florida East Coast and lower Georgia now. How about that? I like that. All right, let me type that, then we'll start talking, everybody. I knew this was going to happen at 11 because I knew I had to post this, but no big changes. So if you're coming here to wonder, they did not change much at all. And that's what they said. So there you go. I think some were expecting a big change one way or another. West, east. If I see, the number one thing I read in the last day, west, east, there's like a battle. West, east, west, east, west, east. Is it west? Is it east? Is it west? Is it east? I'm blinking a lot because my contacts are pretty bad. Very little change thinking. Track intensity almost unchanged. Warnings for a big chunk of the Florida East Coast and lower Georgia now. All right, here we go. We're posting it. Now let me go post it on Twitter. Shelly's laughing at me now because she wants me to do the one post and be done. Oh, I'm old school. Hey, I do use hashtags now a little bit. All right, 11 p.m. track. All right, then let me go to Instagram real quick, and then we'll talk. So bear with me. We are going to digest what's going on with this system. A little bit of wind shear rolling in from the Gulf. That was expected. Actually, that wind shear is actually slowing our system down. Meaning landfall now, I didn't even need to look. Slower now, slower landfall. Look at that. Landfall now, maybe daylight hours. Not overnight as much. That's kind of good news, if anything. I mean, nobody likes an overnight landfall. So at least, if anything, we could be looking at a daylight landfall at least. But things will be going downhill Tuesday night, tomorrow night. This thing's going to be moving fast and getting on out of here. So, all right. I think I did it. I did it. All right. So, latest track. Let's read the discussion real quick. Again, I like to do this. Key messages, we know that. So, basically what they're saying is it's moved slower, which I think a lot of our fans have seen that. Not saw that, seen that. By the way, it's late night. I'm drinking Gourd's Gone Wild from my good buddies at TVBC. Highly recommend them. They support my late night lives. Woo! All right. So yeah, listen. Steering currents not changed. Official track almost the same. In the middle, the Euro 18Z did move a tick west, so they didn't. I'm skeptical of the 18Z. The one thing to note is this: The next run of models is called the 00Z Suite, and there's a bunch of data coming in from the Hurricane Hunters that are going to be fed into those models. So that'll be probably the best model runs to date. Would be the next set in about an hour. They have all kinds of data from the Hurricane Hunters. So realistically, we're getting close to know tomorrow is a day before landfall, not even a day. Less than a day tomorrow. So we'll have a new NHC update at 5 a.m. and we'll see if there's any changes. But no. So still expect to be a major hurricane. Still expected to follow that same track. No big changes. So how about that? Let's see if the surge map changed at all. Probably not, because the winds hasn't changed. The only thing different that I did notice earlier, and Kevin Guthrie mentioned that, we're now at 8 and 12. Before we were 11, so they went up to 12 right there, and 6 to 9 nearing Anclote, which is Tarpon Springs, and 2 to 4 here, not bad. I mean, that's kind of considerable, 2 to 4 foot surge. That's when our system rolls through here, exits, and we're going to start to see storms developing Wednesday. Any other changes? I don't think so. Rain, same. Heavy rain. Nothing's really changed. Tracks changed. We got 00Z models coming out. Number one thing I'm seeing all over the place is this. Oh, God, I didn't want to have to talk about this. Those are your spaghetti models. These are your 00Z suite. They came about an hour ago. High confidence. You get a couple scragglers dipping south, but here's the initiation point too, which makes sense. I was doing some work on before we went live, and it definitely seems like the tip of Cuba is exactly right there. That's kind of where I guess the center to be, and that's where the Hurricane Center has put our latest models. We're getting some though. What's up with that? But I don't think it's gonna happen. This is your latest Euro. Definitely a change. I mean, steering currents are this thing's gonna go south. It's gonna go south. I mean, come on. What is up with that? Sean, if you're listening, man, I'd probably jump the gun and told you no, but there are a couple of European ensembles that are kind of sniffing a little bit too, that this could possibly dip back to Florida. I don't know. Very low likelihood at this point, but anyway. Linemen. So, Kevin Guthrie talked about tens of thousands of linemen are lined up. I talked to Tammy from OSR tonight. They're staging here in St. Petersburg. So, yeah, it's a real deal, man. The state's response is amazing. Tons of linemen are rolling into Florida right now. Kevin mentioned they got airboats on standby because there are so many trees up there where this thing is going. They're expecting over storm surge in that Big Bend area. The funneling of water that has nowhere to go, it accumulates and it basically goes into a bowl and it pushes in. So storm surge number one, he was saying. Number two is the power outages that they're expecting. They think they might have more power outages from this storm than they did with Ian because of the trees. And then number three, he said, was the inland flooding. Areas like the Suwannee River, some heavy rain expected, double-digit rain, and that Suwannee River region could flood, and that's the third threat that he was saying. So doesn't always have to be a wind threat. We got other issues brewing, for sure. Steinhatchee, you're close. If I can pronounce it right. Gas contaminated, Patricia. That was a big story here in Tampa. We had a Citgo refinery that somehow mixed diesel into gas. So that's real. But as far as everything else goes, hopefully you've been listening. Here's the latest rain map. This is what you can expect throughout the lifespan here of Idalia. 6 to 10 inches of rain along the Florida West Coast in orange. Pockets of the rain here closer to the coast, South Carolina, North Carolina. A lot of that's going to be because our storm's going to exit. And once our storm exits, it's going to start getting a little bit stronger and producing more rains and storms Wednesday into Thursday. Everything's going to be long gone by Friday. The flooding map is still a strong concern here with red and yellow, but they're expecting a lot of flooding. We're going to have a lot of rain training. You're going to have a lot of areas that get persistent nonstop rains. So this is your area to watch for heavy, heavy, heavy rain. The threat map here. Let's take a look at that. Let's see if anything is updated on this since our 11 o'clock advisory. Let's see here. A couple clicks. Let's see if there's a way to know if this is 11 o'clock or not. I don't know if it's 11 o'clock. Yeah, I think it is. I don't know. But anyway, close enough. Well, they didn't change the track, so yeah, it's probably the same. Anyway, all right, so they technically are saying anything in the purple, which includes parts of Pinellas County, coastal obviously coming in off of that Gulf of Mexico, red, orange. Red and orange are, they're saying potential of widespread winds in the purple, 110 mile an hour plus. That seems like a lot, but that's what they're showing. Wind gusts in the red, 74 to 110. That extends up past the Florida-Georgia line. And wind gusts in the orange, 58 to 73. Look at that little pocket here, Brunswick. That wasn't there earlier. That's new, so this has to be new. And that is because of this. When our storm exits, guess what? Storms start rolling in. So that's new. Brunswick, you can have wind gusts 74 to 110. So I don't know if they're going to update more of this or not. This might be based on the track kind of getting away like that. But, yeah, you guys weren't being talked about. Look at that. Brunswick, 110. That will increase storm surge. That's why we have storm surge numbers at 2 to 4 foot on the Atlantic coast. Other threats we need to worry about: tornadoes. Here you go. This is tomorrow. Yellow and dark green. And like I said, look at radar. Let's look at radar. There's already a pretty strong storm down there by the Keys currently getting ready to come ashore. This little guy right here, that's one of the first bands kind of rolling in. But the map here for tomorrow, dark green can spawn a tornado. Yellow for sure. Yellow is going to be a large area tomorrow as our system rolls up to wherever it's going. We're going to have storms incoming and wrapping around throughout the day. So as our storm approaches, chances for tornadoes definitely increase throughout the day. And then on Wednesday, it expands more to Georgia and the coastal areas. So when Wednesday rolls around, which includes overnight from Tuesday to Wednesday, there you go, yellow for upper Florida, coastal areas of Georgia and Carolinas. And that'll be because of the shift and storms now incoming off the Atlantic. So that hasn't changed. Intensity, they're still predicting a 120. Golly, just got to look at that cone. We're going to leave it on the cone. The cone is everything. The cone is anywhere the eye could go. And we'll just leave it at that. Right there. That is the cone. I might have got a little tighter. I don't know. But the cone is anywhere the eye could go. The effects of the storm are way past this cone. That's why we have hurricane warnings outside the cone. All right, cold front. So the only influence a cold front would have would be as if it was a little stronger and pull it turn it quicker. What do you do with tornadoes? Well, it's a great question. You got to find, that place in your house that's got the most amount of walls. A lot of people suggest bathrooms, closets. The whole idea of that is you don't want things coming through the walls or windows. Morgan wants to know, does my gut agree with the NHC? At this point, yes, because I believe in that cone. European ensembles, pretty much majority of them are in this cone. The cone, I would be, let me tell you, you know how bad it would be in Tampa Bay if a storm followed that right there. It would be bad. The storm is so wide that all the major issues would still be outside that cone. So, I don't want to sound like a broken record, but man, you got to take it serious if you're close to that cone. A lot of discussion on this thing's slower. Does that mean the front comes down a little more, picking it up, turning it? Nobody knows. But I totally agree right now that this cone looks good. As far as now, what part of this cone? That's opinion. Latest European ensembles here, kind of showing you. Let me show you right here. Let's put it in motion. Take a look at the ensembles here as they run. So here's the latest European ensembles for 18Z. Look at a couple of them are dipping down. Weird. I don't know if I've ever seen a hurricane do that as far as re-strengthen. Let's worry about tomorrow. I'm not wasting. I just haven't invested any time looking at that. But these are the European ensembles, and if you take away the two outliers going through Tampa and the two outliers over there by the around Apalachicola area, that's a really good mix of blend. So yeah. What's it doing tonight? I don't think it's. I think it's. This is the 500 millibar. I think the NHC is exactly perfect. This is the 500 millibar. It's definitely having a hard time stacking right now. There's a little bit of wind shear incoming, so the upper level winds are blowing our 500 millibar a little bit to the south. This is definitely a way more winds that are showing on this than it was this morning. Which is incredible that we don't have anything more than 70 mile an hour right now. I think the flight path I just did was more to try to get a better sense of the winds. Because this is an awfully weird flight path that they just did. It looks like they really wanted to get down here to this area right here. Which is not even close. Center somewhere right here. But there's purple wind barbs. Purple wind barbs could mean hurricane. Purple wind barbs. So anyway, there's the hurricane hunters. They're flying out there. Interesting flight path up here. If you're wondering, way up here. This is Franklin. That's not the one. This one. This is interesting. So here's Tampa Bay right here. Boom. So what they're doing is measuring all that upper level winds, and they're measuring humidity and moisture, and they're trying to get a feel of steering currents basically, and environmental moisture ahead, so they kind of know what's going to happen when this storm pulls up into the Gulf. So they actually measure upper level atmosphere to get a sense if this thing's going to turn or not. So yep, they can't fly to Cuba. Nope. Oh, they did. They flew over. No, they're not supposed to. I heard it. Sometimes they do. I guess they did that time. Maybe they got it. I did ask one of the hurricane hunters one time. I met him in Houston, and they can get special allowances to fly over land. All right, what questions we got? This is good, man. Look at that. The sign of fall is coming. That's awesome. I love this stuff. It's a good end of the night little whatever. So most of the time they don't fly over land because of restrictions from other countries and safety to something were to happen. You know, they and plus they can't do their drop zones over land. Drop zones evaporate, or not evaporate, they dissolve. The drop zones have little parachutes on them, and they drop them from the airplane, and they get readings into the storm, and then they ultimately end up in the ocean, and then they're biodegradable. And talked to a hurricane hunter about it a long time in Houston, so I got a really good education on the drop zones. What's the beer, Tammy? Well, it's my favorite place in the whole wide world, Tampa Bay Brewing Company. Available at ABC. Frontal boundary hasn't moved much. Oh, good question. Number one question I get to, listen, is this right here. Everybody wants to know how far out the tropical storm force winds go and hurricane winds. So what you need to do is click on the public advisory, which is up here. I had a link, but I missed it. And go somewhere down here, right here. Tropical storm force winds extend out 150 miles now from the center. Early today, I think it was 70 from the center. Now it's 150 from the center. So that's how they determine how big the system is. So they're 150 miles out from center. Questions asked a lot. So it's under public advisory. Excuse me, yawn. Hey, listen. My truck has been in 8 hurricanes, 3 majors. This will be number 9. And I'll be streaming live on YouTube and Facebook. So we're going to be hitting all social media a lot because my goal is to get a bigger audience as we track the storm. So that's what we'll be doing tomorrow. We're going to go live at 9:19 in the morning, then I'm out of here. Sorry. By tomorrow, I guarantee there's going to be no uncertainty as far as the cone goes and winds, and most people are going to be evacuated by then. Do you know what I read today? This is my shirt, by the way, Redneck Storm Chaser. That was a reminder we're going to be storm chasing. I read there's 21 Florida counties under a mandatory evacuation. 21. So all that gave me crap about hyping can just go to the officials and give it to them now, because whether or not it happens or not, 21 counties now are under a evacuation. Parts of counties, not full counties, but 21 counties have mandatory evacuations. You can start to see the storm lift north a little bit, right on the tip of Cuba there. Keep seeing little signs of an eye, but nothing's official, obviously, but you can kind of see at the last second maybe where it's trying to clear out some sort of an eye-like feature, but nothing yet. I mean, the best news for this thing would be to take its time organizing. Like we always said, whatever happens up by landfall all begins down here. So the weaker it is down here, the weaker it will be up there. But it's not weak right now. It's at 983 pressure. That's pretty darn low. So it's supposed to be moving into an environment with very little wind shear tomorrow. They did say earlier rapid intensification is probably probable. So Cuban radar. Let's see. Does it work? It wasn't working earlier. Who asked me that? Cuba radar. It's on my site. Cuba radar. Was it working? Hey, it's working. Ooh, sexy. All right, Cuba radar. There you go. There she goes. There she goes. Sure as heck look like an eye over the tip of Cuba, doesn't it? It does. It looks like an eye to me. Clear as day. Man, this thing's been sitting down there forever. But definitely looks like an eye right there. If that was the case, it'd actually be a little bit over here. It'd be off a little bit. If, you know. Here's the official cone. The NHC is actually putting it almost the exact same spot. So yeah, that's perfect. It definitely appears exactly where the NHC is at. So we're not seeing any major shifts. You know, I think one of the things I see with these when we're tracking storms anymore, there's a emotional desire about track shifts. You know, they said there's no track shifts. Cold front, cold front, cold front. Yeah, let's talk about that. I see a lot of questions. Well, the cold front basically breaks down the atmosphere, steering currents. And when you get a cold front coming down, you get the jet stream. Right here. See it? This is what they're all worried about tomorrow, is a big hole of no wind shear tomorrow. This is 200 millibar. But steering currents eventually start pulling this thing up, and the upper level winds, it feels it and moves it. So there's your cold front moving in. You can verify by looking at surface charts. There it is right here, current surface chart. Tomorrow you're starting to see a little bend because this is actually pushing that. It's a battle. Who's going to be stronger? And you know, there you go. There's that cold front. These two actually merge a little bit, and off we go. Well, no, now we got this little loopy doop. There must be an ABC over here somewhere. Yeah. So that, I mean, it's so classic how it does that. Haley, I would think we're about 100% sure it's going to be a hurricane. I've never seen the models wrong, ever, that many. Shelly just wrote, you heard it here first. What's that? What the heck is Steinahachie? Is that where everybody wants me to go? So seriously, I need to know, where do we go? What do we do? I'm worried about internet. So I got to make sure we go to an area that has internet. Oh, hey, they got restaurants. Hey, this is a cool damn place. Where's this at? Steinahachie, look. I thought I saw, Who Dat Bar and Grill. Who Dat? Who Dat? Roy's. We go to Roy's. All right, let's take a look. Where the hell is that at? Let's zoom out. I don't even know where it's at. I'd probably drive through it. Oh, no, there's 98. Where the hell is it? Oh, yeah. I drive right through there. We go to Perry all the time. Hey, tell me the history of that little town. What's the population? Steinahachie. I just put pop. Population. Hell, it didn't even pop up. I don't think anybody. 537 people. There's no way in hell there's going to be internet in Steinahachie. There's no way. But there's a Dollar General. Hey, people live there. That's awesome. Sea Hag Marina. Well, what's a good? Look at Roy's. What's Roy? Let's take out Roy's. Roy's restaurant. Oh, it's on the water. That's pretty cool. Roy's restaurant's got a menu or a website. Hey, 1969, man. Roy's been around. They look at that. Make a reservation. They said they got a beeper number. That looks pretty good, man. They don't really have a page. Oh, they have an online shop. What are they selling? Oh, they got gear. Scallop season's huge up in this neck of the woods, by the way. I've never really been a big scalloper, so I'm sure they're very famous for scallop season. But look, that is awesome. We should go to Roy's. I want to go to Roy's. You can't tell me that this wouldn't be a great spot. Now, hopefully Roy's is above ground a little bit, but that's nothing better than a tiki bar overlooking the water. So maybe we'll go back. Does anybody work at Roy's? Maybe some of Roy's will say, hey, we know you. The Pelican thing was funny last night. Everybody said they've been there. People have been there? I can't believe how small the world is. It was like the Meat over here says he works at Roy's and CD's. Where the heck's that at? Who dat food? But everybody's been there. Somehow our chat tonight is the whole population. Whatever city this is. What city was this again? We just Googled it. Steinahatchee. We have more people in our chat than the population of Steinahatchee. That's pretty bad, isn't it? More people. That's awesome. All right, so maybe we'll go to Roy's. Roy. All right, what else we got? Let me go back up there. So no big changes. Savannah, Casey, listen, I get it. You guys are curious. Well, let me tell you something. We've been talking a lot about it. I don't know if you've been watching, but we've been talking a lot about it. Not tonight, but before. This is a deal. This thing's going to be still a hurricane. Let's put up a track here. So it's going to be making landfall at 120 mile an hour, Category 3. Still going to be a 60 mile an hour tropical storm all the way through Jacksonville area of Florida. So we're still going to be a hurricane probably all the way through the state of Florida until it slowly winds down. So our system is going to be producing a lot of storms Wednesday as this thing exits. Enough that we have some tropical storm warnings. More than likely, these are going to be extended to warnings tomorrow. It's a time thing, 48 hours. So we're going to be at 60 miles an hour just off the coast of South Carolina there, and then we're going to have probably a little bit of strengthening maybe. It's not showing there. But earlier today we had a little bit of strengthening. So yeah, you're going to get a tropical storm Wednesday. There is a chance system rapidly intensify. Who was that asked that? Yes. What's up, Mr. Chris? Maybe we'll eat lunch there at Roy's, man. We're gonna be walking in. Who's Roy? They're basically National Hurricane Center did say almost guaranteed that they said there'll be rapid intensification. Waffle House. MWP at the dark and snatch a hoochie. I might get a divorce if I go hang out with Snatch a Hoochie. Charleston's under a tropical storm warning. I don't know if Shelly says she wants to stay. I don't know. You got to watch right now, but you will be in a warning, almost guaranteed. All this yellow is a tropical storm watch, but you will be in a warning more than likely tomorrow. Any last minute turn, anytime. in that cone, we can see a little turn. The only difference is we had models back then during Ian that were really showing Fort Myers a lot. We're just not seeing very, very, very many models outside of that cone. So, I live and die by the models, and a lot of my forecasting is based on the models. Steering currents, etc. But the track looks pretty solid on a slow turn. If something were to happen and this thing, reformed over here, but it's getting organized. And once that system gets organized, there's very little doubt of any weirdness, because systems usually relocate when their centers get displaced and then they get a new center, but we're not seeing that. It's pretty organized tonight. So I don't, it would be irresponsible to say Tampa's going to make a direct hit. Now, could something, wiggle just a 20-mile turn? I mean, that's all it was with Ian at Tampa. 20-mile turn makes a huge difference in that cone. And trust me, you would not be under mandatory evacuations in 21 counties, especially the Florida West Coast, if the big dogs didn't think that there was a chance for some bad weather coming. So that's when really I become less involved, because we turn it basically over to them. They're the officials. And as Kevin Guthrie talked about a lot tonight, your local offices and local meteorologists, look at it's definitely it's pulling to the north now, clear as day. It's taken off. It's starting to move. It's going to be moving into that area of light wind shear. It's definitely moving. You can see it. It's starting to move. Big time. It was here, now it's here. So it's moving. You can see it clear as day. So she's taking off, heading north. When does it start to turn? I love watching things in real time, right? Isn't that fun? Focus on the tropics. I have no idea what's going on in the rest of the world. So it would take, something pretty drastic to turn. It's going to be a slow turn. Ian and Charlie, they came off of there. They slow turned. Well, they end up in the same spot. But basically, the way that this turned, you go here, the way that turned, I kind of opened it up. I cheated a little bit. You get the idea. I don't know. I still see a lot of buzz. People worried about the thing riding the east side of the cone. And that's something we will not know until tomorrow sometime. When this thing starts getting up here, we'll start to see if there's a nudge. So I'm telling you, if there's ever been a day to say there's been a lot to watch, it's going to be tomorrow. Because by nightfall, it's going to be getting, it's already going to be up by Tampa almost. We're not in the same spot either as we were with Ian as far as timing goes, because 7 a.m. Wednesday, if it turned, it would still be there. It's not like a big difference in timing. So it's not the same scenario that we saw with Ian. If it does make a turn, it'll still be almost the same timestamps, you know. So there's current timestamp 7. Oh, now that's weird. So it's actually 8 a.m. I don't know why it's set for Central Daylight Time, but it would be 8 a.m. You know, and if it turned, it would be 8 a.m. there. So not a big difference with a turn on timing. You know, 8 a.m. would be, you know, somewhere right there. A couple hours. But remember the surge, high tides. I did a post earlier from Paul Delegato that was all the high tides. Let me see if I can find it. It was a good post. He put it together with all the... here's a good map from the Weather Channel. People want to know power outages, and this is what Kevin Guthrie talked about. You know, they're estimating 3 million people possibly. There's your widespread power outages. Red is likely power outages, and that's south of Tampa Bay. These are usually pretty good. Purple for sure. But that's a large area with power outages from the Big Bend towards lower Georgia, northern Florida. I think I'm going to end the night and put that on the page. The other thing I was going to share was the Paul Delegato. Where did I put that at? I thought I posted it. Right there. All right. So Paul Delegato put this together. This is all the high tides, basically from Crystal River down to Sarasota. And overnight, Tuesday into Wednesday, now that this thing's slowed down, so, you know, 3:02 Wednesday, Crystal River would be the high tide. Bayport, 2:56. 3:30 in the morning on Wednesday for St. Pete. So these would be probably the times that you know, Tuesday night, Wednesday morning that we got to worry the most about, you know, for high tides, and it's overnight. But Crystal River 3 in the morning, you know, most of them are overnight, Tuesday to Wednesday. Ho, kitchen, land. I don't know the question there. Laura, what you got there? You just text me. Oh, little information from whole softball mom. University Tampa have to evacuate by noon on Tuesday. And the airport's closed. Yeah, see, here's a great example. That's not great. I didn't mean it like that. I just got a text that University of Tampa is evacuating at noon tomorrow, but the airlines are closed at the same time, and they're told they have to find their own. You know, they got to go somewhere, so they have to figure out a way to get home. The whole story of the storm to me has been the delay of anticipation, the delay of preparedness. It's just overall, this storm to me has been the weirdest storm because people just ignored it and acted like it was nothing. You know, hopefully it is nothing, but it's just different. Like this storm, it just seems like everybody waited till the very end to take it serious. So we're going to Roy's there, Chris. Somebody from Roy's. Are you kidding me? Is this how the internet works? Somebody from the restaurant. Everybody's bumping it. Shelly, do you see that? Nikki, so Nikki, don't go nowhere. Shelly will reach out to you. Oh, Roy's owner is in the chat. That's so awesome. Well, we just showed your place. That's great. Well, look great. Not great that you guys are closed tomorrow, but look cool. I showed your place. If you didn't see it, looks really cool. We're trying to figure out a place to storm chase tomorrow, so we might swing through your little city. I saw a Waffle House. I'm sure they're open, but we can go get Waffle House food to go and hang out at one of your picnic tables. How's that? Mesoscale models. The tracks aren't really good with those, Bradley. They do take them into consideration though, but the intensity is very accurate. The NHC reading basically splitting the difference between the GFS and Euro. And if I had $1 for every year, it's the same thing. GFS says this, we go right down the middle. That's basically what they do. Whatever the GFS says and whatever the Euro does, they go right down the middle. That's what they did with Ian last year. GFS was skewed way to the panhandle. That's why we had a track that made no sense, because the GFS was screwing everything up. Heather says, look forward to Storm Chase. Well, thank you. The goal is to get the whole damn world watching. Ed, let's take a look at the GFS. Again, the GFS has got a really big west bias, but we'll take a look at it. It's pretty bad when you got to rely on one model. Now, the UK is not too bad. We'll take a look at the UK. It's probably behind, but we'll look at it anyways. All right, current GFS. Here she comes. Boom, 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 boom. Straight north. 959. So that is on the edge of the cone. Canadian icon. HWRF. Man, it's definitely, I mean, I tell you, one trend that has never changed as far as direct hit has been the West Central Florida. We have been basically from day one showing this trend, and it's been pretty darn consistent with things. It seems like I've been drawing the exact same map now since day one, and that's been boom, boom. Well, it's actually boom, boom, but that's the area. Yeah, but again, everybody, the NHC is the boss, and they indicated tonight that there was no change in track, so they're sticking with that cone. And a lot of this is going to depend when it finally starts lifting. Once it starts lifting, and they're going, like I said, they're putting some of that new data in the 00 models. So confidence is this a little better for the Florida West Coast. Put it to you that way. All right, cool. Well, I told y'all we'd be online for 10 minutes. It turned out at 55. What's up, Mikey? 00Z, Andres. The models are running now. Some of them are up. 2 a.m. will be the new Euro. Yeah. So those were the 00Zs I just showed. All right. We'll be live in the morning. I'll be posting away. Things are getting a little bit more clearer. There's not a lot of discrepancy in any models right now. And steering patterns are locked in, it looks like. And, yeah. Most winds for the West Central Florida. The farther south you go, you get less because this thing's coming in at an angle. I still refer back to the National Hurricane Center as the potential, for worst case scenario winds. It's their map. It's not my map, but I've seen a lot of people using this map. So we'll see at 5 o'clock in the morning if they adjust it anymore. But it's a good map to just kind of get a worst case scenario on what you might see for winds. And it's still having a big chunk of, purple, which is, over 100 mile an hour wind gusts. But you got to remember one thing. Severe thunderstorm warnings that we get here in the south, sometimes there's 60 mile an hour winds. So, some of these squalls are going to feel like afternoon thunderstorms. They're not going to be that, And one thing about the surge south of center, now center surge is bad. That's going to be 120 mile an hour winds possibly. The surge down in Tampa Bay might be a little less dramatic. It's going to be a push of water in over time, and hopefully not like a massive, wall of water being pushed in. It's a constant battering to the waves and the winds. We showed the Euro map, and Euro's predicting crazy wave heights just off the Pinellas County coast. Rob, there's a name for the pattern. It's basically just a sampling of the atmosphere, and then the time they get back to where they began, they can get a sense of direction. So they're sampling 4 quadrants basically. And then this is a weird pattern. I've never seen that. That's very odd. I don't know what they're looking for there. I really don't, honestly. They've made 3 passes. The center's here. I don't know what they're looking for right there. But this is just the 4 quadrants basically. And then when they do it, they come back and they got a new fix. So this is how they get a trajectory usually. They'll do a fix, come back, do another fix. So the whole point is to get a position the second time through, and that basically you're connected to dots, and when you connect dots, you kind of get an idea of direction. This is an interesting flight pattern here. This is upper level winds, drop zone. So what they're doing here is they take off, and they're basically flying like that, and they're dropping these drop zones into the atmosphere, and they're collecting data, and that data gets sent back to the airplane. And those drop zones are done. They're like love bugs, man. They live like a lonely life, and little parachutes bring them down, and they ended up dissolving in the ocean. Hundreds of drop zones, but they're measuring, humidity and moisture and temperature and wind, winds. They're trying to get a gauge of what the atmosphere is above, and that'll tell them a lot about steering currents and potential, environmental conditions ahead to try to strengthen. Veronica wants to go for a ride on a Hurricane Hunter. Well, I do too. I never answered on the Cal Sumter Vidge. I never answered because I can't read posts. Anyway. Cool. All right. So we will be live in the morning. I'll be posting all day tomorrow morning for sure. Things are pretty cut and dry right now. Honestly. You want to see what it's going to look like radar-wise. We're going to have squally feeder bands all day tomorrow. And this is kind of what it might look like. Let me do the southeast here and we'll take a look. So throughout the day tomorrow, here's our system way down here, but we're starting to see the bands, the frontal lines up there in the upper Gulf, but look at these bands throughout the day tomorrow. clear tropical system. I mean, that's classic. Bands of showers, possible tornadoes, heavy storms, inland daytime heating. Our storm exits, we're going to get a lot of storms whipping up from the Atlantic. That's why we got a tropical storm warning in Georgia, and we got Carolina coast with alerts, surge, because these storms are going to be blowing in. We have a pocket of heavy winds even expected here, because when our storm exits, it's going to start spinning up storms right here, and you're going to start to see heavy winds incoming right there in this pocket right there. This is the current map, and it might extend a little bit more if our system plops over the water a little bit more. All right, so the new NHC updates at 5. And we're not even at a hurricane right now, so think about that. A lot of anxiety right now, and it's not even a hurricane. So let's just watch it develop, see how it does, and by now, if you're in any of those areas, you should be kind of mentally ready for the worst. All right, cool beans, love bugs. We will see. Hey, my buddy Greg Montgomery, 983. Yep, it is weird, Greg. It takes a long time for the winds to catch up. So when you drop pressure, it doesn't always necessarily mean the winds are going to catch up. And we saw that with Nicole last year. The pressure was like 970s, and it never really officially became a hurricane. So yeah, the winds have a hard time catching up. Pressure gradients are weird, but typically the winds catch up to the pressure. All right, we'll see y'all in the morning. I'm tired. I'll go to bed. You should too.